Good evening and welcome to the Whisky Lover Society with me, Gert Retief. Tonight we are traveling to the Islay Scotland and we are looking at the KILCHOMAN Machir Bay collaborative vatting. This one is specially done for topwhiskey.be here in Belgium. It is an Islay whiskey. It is from the KILCHOMAN distillery. It is a single malt. It is this specific one is bottled in 2019. Cost around 50 euros here in Belgium. Bottled at 46% ABV. It is a no age statement whiskey, but with a little bit of digging, I did found some information. So it can be anything 5 to 6 years old, so quite a young whiskey. Expect to see that in the nose and on the taste. It is matured in ex-bourbon cask, so 90% ex-bourbon cask and a 10% ratio is ex-sherry cask. So do tend to find a little bit of a sherry note in it. It is natural colored. And it is non-chill filtered, so quite ticking the boxes. Of course not cheap, but not bad for a whiskey of this age. So with this one, I did start trying it last night. I did struggle with it. I did go through these notes. It took me about 2 hours to go through everything, write down. It keeps on changing. Quite a complex, not an easy drinking whiskey, especially if you are not big into peated whiskies. So it did take some time, and it was a little bit of a roller coaster. I don't like it. I get to like it a little bit more, then a little bit of a dip again. So I went through all the motions last night, and I keep on writing some notes and a little bit on what I found last night and what I found tonight. So the first thing that I did learn, it needs time in a glass. When you pour it, leave it. The longer you wait, the better it gets. So on the nose, cheers. So the first thing that you get when you first pour the dram is that smoke. It's really, for me anyway, some might say it is not high enough for them. Of course, for me it is quite high. As you know, I don't always enjoy the smoky ones, especially some of the Lefroy's and other whiskies, which are quite similar. They might be a little bit more like 55 ppm. But that's the first thing that I got. So you get that strong heat of the smoke. You get a little bit of a bonfire and a big heap of ash notes coming out. Then I also get typical Islay smoke. So I get the TCP, the hospital in a glass, a little bit of an iodine coming out. So for me, that is the first thing, and I can tell you now, I am not a fan of that. But I did realize last night, if you leave it in the glass for a while, it does change quite dramatically. So not a big fan on the first pour, but I can pour this one about maybe 15 minutes ago, and I can already get all the different notes coming in. So a little bit more fruity notes coming out, a little bit of a citrus note, just a hint of it. A little bit of a peach note are also appearing in the background. So it's becoming quite pleasant for me. Then I also get a little bit of a gooseberries. Takes me back to my young days of stealing gooseberries at a neighbor's house in the evening. That fresh gooseberry, you pop it open, that smell, really pleasant. And then get a little bit of a briny note also at the back. So definitely, every time I go back, there's a little bit of an improvement. Less of the smoke, less of the hospital, less of the iodine, less of the TCP coming out. Hate hospitals. Spent a lot of time at a couple of years ago in hospital, so bad memories. Now that it settled down in the glass a little bit, I get a little bit of a red apple, which is quite pleasant. A hint of a vanilla also appearing. So really, really nice. For me, it's like you get climatized to the smoke, and it seems to disappear every time that you go back. A little bit less smoke. You do get the youthfulness of the alcohol, especially if you agitate it a little bit and you stick your nose in it. It tells you that it's not an old whiskey, and you can feel it on the nose. So on the taste, cheers. Now on the taste, it's so much different. It's a lovely sweet smoke. It reminds me a little bit of a Speyside that went over to the Islas, have an illegitimate child, and added a little bit of a smoke to that illegitimate child. So there's that apple flavors coming up, and before you know it, slowly the oak starts building up, and just to remind you that it is a Islay whiskey and not a Speyside whiskey. Quite pleasant. So I do like the Speyside type of whiskies, the fruity flavors, the apple flavors, the pear flavors coming out. So this is a little bit nice for me because it starts off in the Speyside and then slowly and in the end quickly running into the Islay region to show you this is smoke and not Speyside. And now in the back I do get a little bit of an oak coming out. Quite pleasant actually. So it is 46%, and I've known from experience that adding a little bit of water, especially for me, with the Islas, the Kolila 12, I did add a little bit of water. Also the Lefroy 10, when I added a little bit of water, it made it a little bit better for me. So I am just going to add a little bit of water. So in this one, I'm not going to add a lot. Last night I added just maybe a full teaspoon, and for me that was a little bit too much. So in this one I put about 3 drops of water just to see what it do with some water added. So on the nose with a little bit of water. So that for me makes it a little bit better. So that hospital iodine TCP is much less. More fruity notes coming out. A little bit of an apple, fresh apple, and maybe a little bit of fresh pear note coming out. And the smoke is not more, it's now for me a little bit of an ashy smoke and not a bonfire type of smoke. So very pleasant actually. An improvement for me with a little bit of water. So the taste with a little bit of water. Absolutely. I love it with the extra little bit of water in it. Toffee notes coming out. That toffee and a smoke note. Very pleasant. So it's like chewing a toffee And then at the end, you add a little bit of a smoky note. A nice, sweet, smoky note in the end. So definitely, I do like the water added. I will definitely recommend. Try it with a little bit of water, but be careful. Only a couple of drops until you find the perfect balance. Don't put in too much. Last night, I did put in a little bit too much water, and it felt watered down immediately. So I had to throw it away and start over again, just by adding a couple of drops to open it up. So on the finish, for me on the finish, when I tried it without water, I had a sweet, I had the apples, then you get a smoke, and then you get the oak in the end. Quite a medium to long finish for me. And in the end is the hint of the sweetness and the oakiness that stays and lingers in your mouth. When you add some water, it changes a little bit. And what I do get now with some water added, I get the sweetness, which is almost the same. I get a little bit of an apple in it. I get a smoke in it. And I get a toffee note that is added to it. And the oak is a little bit less and a little bit more balanced for me in the end. So score-wise, I am going to give it a 80 out of 100, which is quite high for me. I would definitely buy it again. What I don't really like is the fact that you have to spend some time with it. You have to let it breathe. You have to oxidize it to bring all the nice flavors out. So of course, you don't always have the time or the energy to go sit through the motions to enjoy a whiskey. Sometimes you just want to pour it and drink it. And so there's many out there. But I think on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening next to the fire making your barbecue, or we call it a braai, and then you can sit and enjoy it, take your time with it, and wait for all these flavors to appear. So a little bit for me like the Benriach Curiositas. I do have a bottle of that. So last night I just did a little comparison. And they also have the ex-bourbon cask on the Curiositas and some sherry. But the sherry notes, of course, is a little bit higher on it. So maybe a couple 20 or 30% more on the ratio side. So a lot sweeter, a more sherry note. But it's also got that appley, fruity notes at the start with the sweetness. Of course, I think the Curiositas is a little bit better. Shoot me if you can. So it's growing on me. Every time I go back, I tend to find a little bit of more a balanced note coming out. And of course that smoke is not overpowering everything anymore, especially with the water that was added. So definitely will buy it again. And of course, I would also recommend it for my friends that are into smoky ones. I know some of them will really enjoy it. Not a lot of people like the overly sweet whiskey. This is definitely for you. Smoky and not a lot of sweetness. And I can see some of my friends enjoying it very much. So my final thoughts. Buy it, try it. Let me know in the comment, what do you think about it? Is this something that you would recommend to your friends? And the last thing, of course, please like and subscribe. Now I'm almost at 300 subscribers. I looked at the analytics on YouTube and they tell me I've got about 4,000 to 5,000 unique visitors looking at my videos, and about almost 89% of them are not subscribers. So please, when you have a look at my video and you like my content, do me a favor, subscribe, appreciate it, cost you nothing. And of course, it will help me also to grow my channel, also looking at 1,000 subscribers in the future. So thank you very much for watching, and I see you next time. Cheers.